All right, everyone, let's get right into the stories. We got one heck of a lineup here for you today. I want to start off with a poll. It's called the America at 250 poll. It was put out by NBC just yesterday, and it shows that the country has lost a lot of pride in being American. Okay, the share of people calling themselves extremely proud to be an American has dropped from the high 60s and low 70s post the 9/11 era to 33%, a record low. Overall, about 56% say they are extremely or very proud to be an American, while 29% report having little or no national pride at all. Most say America has seen its best days. Now, let's be honest. The biggest split here is going to be between red and blue. I don't think that's some big surprise to people where, why or how people feel a certain way. I think it's pretty obvious that it's going to be mostly Democrats who feel negative about the country right now. And that's not some big surprise given that leadership in the country is primarily Republican. The age gap was also huge. Roughly 3/4 of adults aged 65 and up report feeling very proud of their country, while only 36%, Anthony, of those ages 18 to 34 say the same thing. So you just look at that. 1 out of every 3 Americans ages 18 to 34 would say that they are very proud to be an American. That number is a stark difference between those who are older, and also a very stark difference between the overall average of 56%. Any ideas about what you think, why there is such a difference right now for young people, Anthony? Why young people feel that they are not proud to be Americans, just like they were. We're talking 9/11, so we're talking maybe about 30 years ago, somewhere around in there, 25 years ago, somewhere around in there. Why is there such a stark difference?
I think
Any
there's
idea?
just like a big change going on this year with just the economy just not doing good, the war going on, just a lot of uncertainties with AI going out, and a lot of these young people coming out either getting out of college or just going into the workforce, and there's just a lot of uncertainty, and I feel like that's just affecting a lot of how they feel about America going on right now.
That's the number one thing they actually list in this poll. Different economies for older versus younger generation. As an individual becomes older, they tend to have more security. And when you have more security, you feel more positively about your country because you feel like, hey, I've got some place I'm always going to have lay my head down. At that time, you feel like, hey, listen, I've lived a good life and you've got more money, you've got more freedom, more autonomy. And so it begins to feel that way. So the number one thing they're saying here is economy. And I think that what you said, you hit the nail on the head. Everywhere we turn right now, it looks like there's uncertainty. And uncertainty means that people begin to look at the country and the leadership and say, not feeling too hot about us right now. And I think that what people are saying is not that they don't feel hot about America as much as what they are saying, I don't feel good about where I'm living right now. And I think a lot of that comes down to maybe local feeling, the government locally or at the state level. I think as well, there have been some big things that have happened. Let's say female reproductive rights, things like that, that maybe people find to be a very strong and divisive issue. And because of that, maybe they feel less in tune with what it means to be an American right now. The second thing they say is different memories that people have. When you tend to be a little bit older, let's say over the age of 40, you may have a different memory of what America is. And I think that a lot of that comes down to the reason number 3 here. This third reason they give is because of a phone in every pocket. I will say this. I believe that I should say this. Social media has been a net negative to society. AI, the jury is still out. But when I look right now at what has happened to young people, I'm going to say under the age of 30 due to social media, what's happened is that you've seen a barrage of negative and anti-American sentiment because of the access that people have across the world. So, and I'll tell you, I look at generations very differently than what some people do. I think, Anthony, the real generational gap happens. Did you have an iPhone in high school? If you did, your experience is completely different than what mine was. I had an iPhone that was just coming out as I left high school. The first rendition of this entire thing was as I was leaving. And so you didn't have the camera phones. You didn't have access to the internet right on your fingertips. And I think what that does to somebody is it makes them extremely dissatisfied with where they're currently at, because it makes you, as a child, when I say child, a 16-year-old kid, compare yourself to what's out there and you feel dissatisfied with what you have. The example I always use, and if you've listened to the show, you've heard me say it. If I would have been in high school looking at like Dan Bilzerian at the time, or if you were to try to make that something like, if you're females, if you're looking at Kim Kardashian or Jenner, those kind of people. What is it? Kylie Jenner,
Yeah.
the makeup one, or you're looking at Ariana Grande. You're looking at these people in, the islands, with they're 21 years old. They've got millions of dollars, living a lavish lifestyle, and you're stuck in algebra class wearing the same shoes, jeans, and shirt that you wore yesterday, and you're expected to be happy in life. Your brain is not, it's not formed to think that way. And so I really believe that some of this dissatisfaction that young people feel is manufactured by the comparison they have to other people in a world that doesn't exist. And that world is brought on by social media. We tend to believe, right, that every other country is so good, while maybe ours is not as good, or they've got it all figured out and we don't. Oh, if we were just more like the Italians and we'd relax a little bit more and be more like in the Mediterranean, and we'd have the Mediterranean diet, which would make us healthier. We tend to believe, by looking at other countries and lives, that ours is one that is not as satisfactory, that doesn't give us the same level of contentment and purpose, and our country doesn't. But when you really peel back and you go to those places, oftentimes, like, you get a chance to meet the people behind the social media post, they aren't as good as what you might think that they are. And I think that when I look at this poll, Anthony, what I look at is people who have a very ideological and manufactured point of view of how the rest of the world actually works. And because of that, they look at America a little bit as less than. They don't have as much pride in what we're doing over here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more too. And I feel like for me, when the iPhone came out, I think it was in like 5th or 6th grade. I think it came out for me. And I think I didn't get an iPhone until like maybe I was in, I think, freshman year of college. But like I think I just had just a smartphone. But I remember back then, I think I had like an iPod Touch, and social media was different than it was then than it is now. Because I remember when I think I had a Facebook at 7th grade, 8th grade, and back then it was just Farmville. You poke your friend, and you just see some statuses, and that was about it. And it's not like how it is now, where everything is just more almost like addicting, like a casino. Like there's like an algorithm for it, and just on a constant scroll. Like it wasn't like that back then. Definitely changed.
It has definitely changed. And that leads us into story number 2 right here, where parents actually are the ones that are most distracted at the dinner table. We talk about the addiction of the phone, right? Well, what we're seeing right now is a new study of 357 parents and their children. And they wanted to study who is distracted and how they are distracted at the dining room table. All right. And so when I looked at this, the one number that jumped out to me was playing, texting, or browsing on a cell phone. When they went ahead and polled these parents, 142 admitted they do this regularly, compared to just saying that 12 of their kids do this regularly. I'm not surprised at this number, because we often, right, parents, what do? You tell the kid to put it down, but then work calls or husband or wife calls, whatever it is, and you start texting with them, telling them to put their phone down, right? It's kind of what's good for me. Listen, not good for you. All right.
Mhm.
Do what I say, not what you see. All right. And so when I thought about this, I'm like, man, let's dive a little bit deeper into some of these numbers right here. So we took a look at it. And like I said, they went ahead and they researched 357 parents and their children. And some of the other numbers that were a little bit skewed right here. Um, very similar when it comes to watching a large screen device, exactly similar when it comes to small screen device. Not surprisingly, handheld games, children play more of those than what adults do. But then the big one, like I said, play, text, or browse on a smartphone. 142 out of 357 parents say, yep, I do that. And they said that only 12 of their kids do that at the dining room table. Um, we are, as adults, more distracted by work than ever before. We don't let work stop. It comes home everywhere with us. And so many of us can relate to this because we have jobs where, yes, we leave the office at 5, right? But do we stop work at 5? No, you may get a text. I mean, hell, Anthony, I may text you something about what we're going to cover the next day.
Yeah.
In addition to that, many people, because you work on a flex schedule where you may work at home, sometimes that job doesn't stop at 5. Maybe that flex schedule says you got to be ready from 7 to 7 in order to be on the phone. And so because we're less detached from work, we are more attached to our device at the dining room table while we want our kids to be more detached from those devices. And I think it's because as parents, what you recognize is how detrimental these things can be, how much they take you away from the present moment that you're in. And I think I look at this and I go, I told you, well, actually, I told you about this. I think it was last week when I was at the gym and I looked around, I noticed like nobody's looking up. Everyone is just sitting there looking down at their phone.
Yeah.
We aren't living presently right now. We're living for what's on the screen in front of us. And as a family or as friends, how nice would it be to pick your head up and have a conversation with somebody and look at the beauty that's around you, even if it's just, man, being at the gym, noticing the people, maybe it's being at dinner, talking to your parents, talking to your children about their day. But we're so distracted by what's coming in the past and what can happen in the future. We're not focused on the moment that we have right now. And this is right here. The numbers are extremely evident right now.
I think I really like this one too because that's something I never really thought about too. It's something because you want to tell your kids like don't be on the phone during the dinner table, and then what ended up happening, the parents do it, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm an adult, I can do it." But sometimes you gotta almost like monkey see, monkey do. You gotta,
Yeah.
if you tell your kids something, you gotta do it yourself too, so then they can know that we're both doing this together, and we're both not gonna have our phones on the dinner table. We're not gonna be distracted. We're gonna have family time and be able to talk.
Yes. Talking. Wow. Wouldn't that be something else?
Yeah.
I think that's a skill that people are losing a lot of. AI. Live show. But, as even in this company with with how much AI we begin to use and we're trying to implement it, people don't want to talk to people, it seems like, as much anymore. People would rather use an AI bot, or they would rather to text somebody, or they'd rather email. And a lot of that starts from childhood development. How much are you talking to your kids right now? How much are they talking to other kids? Or are they texting them? Right? That to me is a question worth asking.
Well, one thing too that it's pretty interesting for me is like for a lot of the kids or like people who were in high school like during like COVID time, there was like 3 years where they just didn't have that interaction of because they were just at home like doing everything on the computer virtually. So there was no real connection in that core moments of them being in high school, either their senior year or freshman year, having that core thing going to seeing people.
Mhm.
So I think that's actually plays an effect as well for a lot of these young kids growing up today.
You're 100% right, which is why I think you see the influx of, have you seen these apps that people now will use to basically take they're actually taking a conversation and then use the apps to text people back.
No.
Yes. So I'm at the gym the other day, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me, everybody. I'm at the gym the other day, and like the TVs in the gym that play like the advertisements.
Yeah.
It was an advertisement for a app that you download that will take whatever dating conversation you're having, like if you're on Bumble, Hinge, whatever it is, and it will respond for you so that you can have a normal conversation with somebody the opposite sex. Like you're prompting the app with what you want to accomplish. I want to go on a date. And it was up on the screen and it was like, there's no words to it because they're playing music over at Crunch, but it was like, it took you through the app and said, what do you want? Hook up, like date, just chat, flirt, that whole thing. And then that bot is then responding for you inside of a dating app so that you don't have to have conversations with people until you get your desired goal. And then it notifies you.
That's crazy. What?
That's happening right now. So I say this because, we talked about the story of the tipping point probably a couple of months ago where there is now more activity from bots online than there are from human beings.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing this everywhere right now where there's an introduction of AI to supplement just human interaction. And it's starting when kids are young. And what they're doing is they're looking at the parents who are constantly attached to this device. We're like a cyborg over here, whether we want to admit it or not. And they're taking the cue that that's an acceptable behavior. And while it might be, okay, that's an argument worth taking. Can we all agree, though, that, man, you know what? If I'm locked in, like looking at this device, like mine's right there, if I'm looking at it, I'm not looking up at what's going on around me. And I don't think, I have to go out on a limb here, Anthony, that as somebody continues with their life and as you get older, as you look back at your life, I don't think you're going to remember the moments where you read a funny meme.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be what people remember. It's going to be the moments where you were at that table at Thanksgiving with family and people that you loved. And if you don't pick your head up and you don't start to make those memories and those things happen presently in a moment with your children, you will not have them. They don't come back. You don't get a second chance at right now. That moment's gone forever and gone and gone. Every single moment will never happen again. And so for those people who have lost somebody in your life, you know this very well. You want to have them back. We've talked about your friend and my father, and we've talked about these people. You're not going to remember the text message that you had with them at 6:00, but you might remember the moments you had driving in a car. You might remember the times that you had dinner together, that you had a laugh. Mm-hmm. And those are not real moments that you get by staring at a smartphone. And so I look at this story and I think, yeah, I'm not really surprised at this. Parents telling their kids, get off your smartphone. Meanwhile, they're over there like, I'm going to do it over here. And mine's work though. I got work to do. Well, you know what? For whatever you find to be important, your child probably finds something else to be important. And they're taking their cues from you about what's going to be acceptable to them. Very interesting right here, man.
Definitely.
All right. Next story is coming out yesterday from California, everyone. We have a B-52 bomber that has crashed at Edwards Air Force Base. I want to bring you through this story because it is still developing currently. As I said, 8 people are dead after a U.S. Air Force B-52 bomber crashed yesterday, the 15th. It happened shortly after takeoff at Edwards Air Force Base in California, about 100 miles north of Los Angeles. It went down at about 11:20 local time. That's 2:20 Eastern time. Officials said, unfortunately, that everybody on board is deceased. After reviewing the footage, Colonel James Hayes said that there was just no way that anybody could have survived this crash right here. The victims were a mixed crew of uniformed military, government civilians, and government contractors. Boeing confirmed that 2 company employees were among those that were on board. It looked like they were supporting a test mission for a radar modernization program. The B-52, it was first introduced in the 1950s. It normally flies with a crew of 5 and remains a central part of America's air power. This is the deadliest crash of a B-52 since 1982, when 9 crew members died near Sacramento. And it is the first B-52 crash since 2016. Now, the base is reopened, and of course, everything is under investigation right here. And we'll look forward to seeing what that investigation warrants, or what comes of it in the days and the weeks to come.
Yeah, I definitely think it's been a bit scary flying, because I feel like there's been a lot of crashes we've been covering recently.
Yeah, just yesterday we covered the helicopter crash in Brazil.
Yeah.
And now, we covered just a few months ago that flight that had gone missing over in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And now we have something like this. And for me, it's just a stark reminder of just how dangerous it is what our military does. And not a lot of people understand that there are deaths that happen for the military in training exercises. And, whether it be Navy SEAL training, there's been many deaths that have happened right there. Things like this, where our military is out there training for war. And we think about what happens overseas, and what deaths may happen there. But the risk that these individuals take is not just during wartime, or not just at, a location like Afghanistan. It's all the training that goes into this, because you're training for wartime, and you're training in situations that are stressful. And because of that, it just goes to show for me how brave and resolute our military men and women are, because it is not just the military, or not just active wartime when you're on guard, when you're on ready. It's all these moments that lead up to that you have to be prepared to be at your best at all of these moments right here. And I don't know what happened in this case. There's no blame yet or anything to be given. But it just is a stark reminder, hopefully to everyone, as we look at July 4th coming around, that the America is kept safe by people like this, who give an ultimate sacrifice to us all the time, not just when they're overseas. And so as we were reviewing this story today, I just thought to myself, how we sometimes just forget that military. Even we can go police, firefighters, all the people that put their lives on the line every day. And we just think about it when we see a video, right? Or we see a car crash, or we see a military operation that goes on. We often don't think about the training that goes into this, and the high stress environment, and the dangers that these people face every single day as they go into these training exercises. Let this be a reminder to us, especially in the middle of June, as we go into America's 250th birthday, and we're talking about that, of just the sacrifice that these young men and women make all the time. And thoughts of their families, man. I just can't imagine.
Yeah.
Your husband, your wife, whatever it might be, they go to work and you think they're coming home, and then they're not.
Yeah.
It's a terrible loss of life anytime somebody does, but these sudden and terrible acts right here are something that, no family should have to endure, and thoughts and prayers with them, because I just can imagine the pain that these individuals are going through. Any comment on this one?
No, that says it all.
All right. Moving on to story number 4, everyone. This is from a different side of, let's say, the news channel. We're talking today about Jelly Roll and Bunny XO. They have filed for divorce. That is right. Country star Jelly Roll has filed for divorce from his wife, Bunny XO. They filed on May 18th in Williamson County, Tennessee. The news did become public just yesterday, and sources describe a mutual decision and a private family matter. The couple married in August of 2016, so they have spent nearly 10 years together. I want to talk about what stands out to me thus far. So far, no one's publicly trashing another person. There's been no angry posts. There's been no accusations or anything. And one of the things that I did notice as we did a little research on this, I think that both of them have been very open about the struggles that they've had within their marriage. Back in 2025, Jelly Roll admitted to having an affair at that time, and that they were working to repair their relationship. They talked openly about wanting a child. And from the outside, they had red carpets, award shows, they had shout outs on stage. They looked solid as they could be. But what this should serve is a reminder to all of us that everybody, every single couple and person is struggling with something that you may not see. And when I look at this, I think, there's always a story behind the story. And while movie stars or people that are in the limelight may seem to have it figured out, heck, at times I may seem to have it figured out on this show. I don't. None of us do. We all are struggling with some kind of vice. And, I look at someone like a Jelly Roll and I look at his wife here, ex-wife soon to be. And I think both of these people are probably dealing with an immense amount of pain. Pain that they probably are not going to express to anybody out of respect for one another, I'd hope. And I think it's a stark reminder to everyone as you look at people, friends, family. Think about that everyone is struggling in their relationship or personally with the relationship with themselves. A vice that you can't see, that they tell nobody about, that skeleton in the closet, that demon that they can't get rid of. And, I look at this and I think back to, I remember Jelly Roll being on stage and thanking her, and it was a big thing in the country music world. But that doesn't omit these people from dealing with pain and with problems that we all face. I'm very pleased to see what I saw thus far, which is two people taking a mature route and saying, hey, maybe it didn't work out, but that's it. That's going to be between us and what they call a private family matter. I like that. In a world where we often see divorces end in rap songs or, some breakup song to be number one, it seems to me that these both people are looking at one another and saying, I've had enough fighting.
Mm-hmm.
When I see situations like this, I feel like that's what's going on.
Yeah.
I think two people are looking at each other and saying, we tried really hard. And it's not that we don't love one another, but that we see a pain in the other person that we can't heal. And that pain and that deficiency in their heart and who they are as a person is one that we can't solve.
Mm-hmm.
Do I know anything about this? No, but I know a thing or two about pain. And I think I can look at this and I can go, I can see that. I can see two people that tried to work on their relationship and said, man, we're going to do our best to. Man, we're going to try to get stronger. We're going to be a united front. We're going to try to build a family. They want to do it. And then you struggle and you fight. And there's life, right? Life happens. And, I don't sit here and ever pass judgment. I used to in my life. But I've been through far too much pain and made far too many mistakes to ever judge another couple. And when I've had to make these mistakes in life, they are difficult to even look at yourself. And I have no idea what they're going through, but I imagine it's very difficult on both of them in very different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I applaud them for just keeping everything just a private matter, and that's how it should be, and just not make a whole public thing where you're saying bad things about the other person or accusing different things, and just say this is a private thing. We're dealing
Mhm.
with it, and this is what we're doing, and this is how we're going to handle it. Because you see time and time again with a lot of these influencers now just trying to make it a whole big spectacle, and with this it's hard, and they chose to do it just as a private thing, and that's how I feel like
Good.
it should be.
I agree with you. I think often, well, in relationships, when you see these nasty divorces or you see people that have a public influence or they're online or like Jelly Roll makes, a living making music. And so is she. She's a podcaster and all this stuff. Okay. sometimes both people know that they have the information to hurt the other person, right? And I think it's beautiful when two people say, I don't want to hurt you because I don't get along with you or you made a mistake. Um, because you screwed up or you did this. Um, because you confided things in me because you're my wife or my husband, and you do that. You confide in another person when you're together with them. And when you do that, you hope that regardless, that will never be betrayed. And I think to myself, when I see some of these divorces that go public, Anthony, I think about there had to be a moment in that relationship where one person looked at another and thought, that vice that I have, that thing that I struggle with internally, that thing I don't want anyone to know, I'm going to tell this person because I trust them.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm going to let this part of my life out to them. Now, I don't know what happens from there. And usually one person makes a mistake or maybe they upset the other person. Jelly Roll here talks about that he had an affair, right? But I think that it's terrible when I see that stuff come out because you see that one person took it upon themselves to trust another. And then when things go wrong, that person knows that the thing that can hurt them the most is that thing that they told them about. And that sucks. That sucks for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I applaud people that are able to maturely look at situations like this and go, hey, I'm not going to go there, right? And I think in a lot of marriages, everybody can go there. And for many people who have had terrible breakups, they know what I'm talking about. You could go there. And for those people who choose not to, I think that's a very commendable and wonderful thing, especially when it's not deserved. I fall into that category. There have been times recently I have not deserved love or I've not deserved grace. I've deserved much worse. And I appreciate that. And it's why I look at this story and I go, I can appreciate it because someone like me who may not deserve grace or, I've been given it in the past. And I would challenge if you're having a terrible time in the relationship, remember that when somebody confides in you something beautiful or wonderful about themselves or the part they don't want anybody else to know, that's something sacred. And I think this is a great lesson right here in how to do a breakup in a way that can be mature and that shows a level of respect, if not love.
Yep.
Right? That's my thought about it.
I definitely agree. And sometimes we think of these celebrities or like influencers like, oh, we want to know everything about them, but some things they're human and we shouldn't know everything that's private and keep everything with themselves. It's like,
yep, you don't really want to know everything about them, I promise, because they're just people.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, when the one thing about we've been doing this show here for a couple of months now, a few months, and one thing I will say about those individuals, like let's say a Jelly Roll or any kind of other musician, man, you've got to have thick skin to deal with the negativity that comes your way. Man, you got to have thick skin. I mean, I don't even know anything about like what they have to deal with, but I know what we have to deal with around here, and thousands of comments and the people that say things, and that in and of itself is very difficult. And so I have a lot of respect for people that are out there in the public light because they are dealing with a level of negativity and having to deal with being in the public eye, and the strength that you have to do that is real.
Yeah.
No one sit there and discount it like you can just easily put up with it. I promise it's more real than what you might think. And having to deal with that mental weight each and every day. I'll tell you someone else, our fifth story of the day, who is dealing with a little bit of mental weight on him last year. We're talking about Diddy, everybody. That's right. Sean Diddy Combs. All right. Talking about Sean Diddy Combs. He just got another cut on his prison sentence, meaning he will be out sooner. New federal records move his release date up to February 23rd, 2028. He is serving a 50-month sentence at Fort Dix, a low-security federal prison in New Jersey, for 2 prostitution-related convictions. He was acquitted on the bigger charges, sex trafficking and racketeering. All right, so let's get down to this. I want to talk about this. Not the fact that he's getting out earlier, and they won't tell us why because they say they don't comment on ongoing things or ongoing prisoner time. Fine. He's getting out a little bit early by a couple of months right now. I want to talk about what happens when this guy actually gets out of prison. So a couple of things that I was thinking about today, because I was like, okay, Anthony, what happens to Diddy as he walks out of the doors? Does this guy have any money? Does he have a place to go? Where is this going to be? And what is actually going to happen with this individual? Well, according to USA Today, he has about 80 pending physical and sexual assault lawsuits. They are civil suits, which means they are easier to lose in criminal court than they are civil. Okay. And civil court is okay. There you go. So in civil court is easier to lose than criminal court. Criminal convictions dramatically increase the success rate of civil claims, but civil suits require only a preponderance of evidence rather than a proof beyond reasonable doubt. So he's going to have to deal with 80 of these physical and sexual assault civil suits after he steps out for the prison. Secondly, we want to talk about the money. He was once a billionaire. In 2026, though, man, his estimated net worth was $400 million. Oh my God. Ciroc partnership, Sean John retail presidents, and the Revolt TV equity are gone. And his annual passive income has likely dropped by 50 million or more per year compared to peak levels. But we're still saying this guy is worth $400 million. This shocked me right here. I mean, Diddy ain't exactly going back to just, living on the streets or in an apartment here. This guy's going to get out of there and get back to it. Okay, let's talk about this. Collectability. A former prosecutor said his resources have been depleted and that there will be a collectability issue when it comes to these civil cases, meaning even if he has the money, there may not be enough to cover the judgments that are lining up. So we're getting conflicting stories right now about how much he actually has. I mean, on one deal, we've got Forbes over here saying, he was a billionaire at one time, but now 400 million, but that's a little bit shaky. He's got his attorneys over here saying, you know what, there's going to be some collectability issues. He's been depleted. And even if you're able to win a civil suit, you might not actually get the money. Mm-hmm. So even if he is released, one thing to keep in mind, he doesn't just walk and go free. He walks out with 5 years of supervised release, a wall of lawsuits. Of course, he's got the damaged brand. And he is going to be in the public's eye even more than he was previously. I got to tell you though, I look at this and I think if I'm on Kashi or something like that, and I'm betting right now, just work with me here. Okay. Does Diddy have another number one hit? A top charting single for Diddy? Or is he featured in a part of another top Billboard number one single? Does he get featured on a song that becomes number one on Billboard? The number one song in the country?
I think it could be, but not because people like it, but just because, what's his new album going to be? And then it's going to be, I feel like it's almost like the Kanye West, where it's like, he has new songs, but people are just like, what is he going to do now? Just because of all those.
I'm just going to say this. I'm removing the fact that he's a terrible human being. Okay, let's remove that. Okay. And then you look at, is he going to go out there and create music and artists again? He's going to do what he's great at. And he's going to, no doubt. Mm-hmm. He's going to get back out there and start making money. Yeah. I mean, the guy knew what he was doing. And so if I'm betting, you put that Kalshi bet out there, if this guy's going to get a number one hit in the next 3 years, and let's see, by he gets out
28.
28,
Yeah. 29, 30.
32 years. I'm going gets it. I think he gets another number one hit. And I think if I'm betting against, I don't bet against him.
Mhm.
He just seems like that guy who's like the roach. Like you can't kill it. You know, he's got that star power about him that you gravitate towards him in some way that people want to watch. And I've got to think that there's going to be somebody who takes a chance on him or an artist that wants to do something with him. And can we honestly not see like a Kanye West getting together with Diddy and making some kind of music? I mean, it could happen. There's going to be somebody who says there's too much attention on this guy not to try to monetize it in some way.
I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be almost kind of like the OJ thing from like the 90s, where it's just like he got acquitted from it, but his reputation just never recovered. So he might have won, but then he didn't win the war because he just his reputation, no one would ever sponsor him or look at him the same way again. So I almost feel like that might happen here.
So, I mean, he went to prison for 2 prostitution-related convictions. So when I look at this right now, I think to myself, he didn't go to prison for, for any kind of capital crime. All right. We're talking about now I know this is like all the stuff surrounding it, oil, baby oil, all this stuff, like the parties, all the terrible stuff, the people that are involved, everything, right? I believe that's going to be what helps him after he gets out. I mean, think about it. This is how I look at it. You've got all these people. I mean, I don't see too many of them coming out in the woodworks to say terrible things about him while he's in prison right now. I know we had that documentary, of course, but we don't have terrible things left and right being said about this guy. Leads me to believe there's probably a reason. All right. I went and watched that documentary that they did about him.
Yeah.
The only people that were on there were people that are part of his inner circle. You didn't have movie stars and music stars coming on there to say much. You had a couple people, all right? But for the most part, it seemed like it was people that were just pissed off that he had gotten what they weren't able to get, especially when that's how I came away from the thing. And now I know that, hey, listen, I'm not going to cheer for the guy's success because I have the same rule for artists like that I do for people who are in the NFL, NBA, do something like where they abuse somebody or they do something that's going to hurt another person. I don't separate the two. Either I'm a fan of you in the NBA and I'm a fan of you as a person, or I'm not a fan of you at all. And now I know I'm never going to get a chance to know somebody like that. But when I see a story like this, I would not be able to listen to his music and be able to separate the two.
I think that's going to be a lot of people, though. That's
you think so?
I think so. I don't think. I think maybe he'll make one more song after, and it might hit number one just because everyone's just like, "What's going to be the song?" But I feel like he's just going to be a recluse, and he's just going to go lay low and not. I think his public image is too damaged.
I don't think there's a chance in the world a guy like this lays low. I don't think he can. I think you got to get back out there if you're him. I mean, if you're him, I'm not saying it's right, not saying I support him, but I'm saying if you are him, right, you got to get out there and live larger than life. You've got to go back and you've got to do what made you money. You've got to get back into being that person that you were. Mm-hmm. And if what they're saying is true and the guy still got 400 million sitting around somewhere, okay, you get back out there. And again, I think there's probably going to be some young artist that can still be influenced by him and says, hey, you know what? The guy made a bunch of hits. My career may be stalled and not going anywhere right now. So I'll take the risk and I'll take Diddy on as my manager. I just can't believe there's not someone out there who's thinking, why not? I want something that's going to be great for me. I want something great for my career. Heck with what the guy did back in, I don't know, 2002. I'm taking a shot right now. I can see it happening. But I think the most important thing to me that I see here when it comes to Diddy being released is he's going to be on 5 years of supervised release. He's not like he's going to get out and just go free. He's got 80 pending physical and sexual assault lawsuits. He's going to have to deal with all of those inside of civil court. And we're unsure how much the guy is actually worth. All of his partnership deals, of course, are gone. So I'd be very interested to see where his net worth lies right now. And as these civil suits go forward, how are these people going to get paid?
Yeah.
If they're going to get paid. And so there's going to be a lot more to this case right here. There's going to be multitude of people that are coming forward, and how he deals with that. Getting out in February of 2028 is just going to be the beginning of this guy's hardships in the latter part of his life. And it'll be very interesting to see if he's able to return to any kind of semblance of notoriety. And so I shouldn't say he's already got that. Success, entertainment success. Would that be the way to put it?
I guess so, yeah.
Success in the entertainment industry.
Mhm.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if he can return to that after everything that has happened in the stories and the videos. I mean, just all of it. But I think anybody in their right mind believes that, he got away with a lot. And I also want to say this is that although we are somewhat making this I don't know how you put it, what's going to happen type deal. We're not talking about him as a person. I think everyone believes that he should pay the ultimate price for anything that has happened, whether it be civilly or criminally. If things were done to people, you need to pay the price. And I hope that he does. My point in all of this is just going to say, what's going to happen to this guy? And, there's one thing he knows how to do. It's entertain. And I think he's going to go right back to doing that.
Yeah, it's going to be, I don't know, because that's a lot of money that's going to be, it's going to come out and he's going to have like all these civil suits. And he's only had $400 million is a lot, but with all these civil suits, and they're probably going to go after a lot of money.
Yeah, I just wonder how many of those are going to go in and get deals. How many of those are going to cut a deal?
Oh, 100%.
500,000, million, 500,000, quarter million. And then it's just, they go away. There's a gag order on that. And no one ever hears about what happened. And if he's got money and he's got 80 to 100 lawsuits and he's able to go ahead and drag those things out or come to some kind of settlement on this, with some kind of non-disclosure or gag order, then you could see something very interesting in the latter part of this guy's career where people begin to forget about the terrible things they heard. We as Americans have a real tendency to do that, especially if somebody is, I don't know, we're a fan of their talent in some way.
Actually, I realized I have another good example. I feel like he's kind of going to be similar with R. Kelly, and I don't think he's going to rebound because that was very similar.
That was bad.
Yeah, so I think
you may have a point right there. We'll see what happens in the years to come. I'm not sure this is not the last time we'll ever cover him on this exact show. Hope you all are having a great Tuesday. Have a great Tuesday afternoon ahead. Join us tomorrow here on the Patrick Carr Show. We'll look forward to it. Have a great day, everybody.